Here's something that'll blow your mind. While social media is flooded with people showing off designer bags and luxury cars, most millionaires actually drive used vehicles and shop at Target. The entire concept of wealth in America isn't what we think it is.
That reminds me of this fascinating research from Thomas Stanley's The Millionaire Next Door. He discovered that many of America's wealthiest people practice something called stealth wealth, basically hiding in plain sight.
You know what's wild about that? Take Warren Buffett, worth about $80 billion, but he still lives in the same modest house he bought back in 1958 for just $31,500.
And get this, he specifically looks for cars with hail damage to get them at a discount. It's like he's playing a completely different game than what we see on Instagram.
Speaking of cars, here's a shocking statistic. A new car loses about 19% of its value the moment you drive it off the lot. That's like taking a $20,000 bill and setting $3,800 of it on fire.
That really puts it in perspective when you compare it to investing that money instead. The S&P 500 averages about 7% annual returns over time.
You know what's fascinating? These wealthy individuals follow something called the BIFL principle. Buy it for life. Instead of constantly replacing cheap items, they'll invest in high-quality pieces that last decades.
That reminds me of this eye-opening New York Times article where wealthy Manhattan families were actually bragging about finding deals at Target and driving older cars. They called excessive spending on mansions and vacations massaging your toes.
Well, there's this ancient cautionary tale about King Hezekiah that perfectly illustrates why showing off wealth is dangerous. He displayed all his treasures to some visitors from Babylon, and guess what happened?
Oh no, what went down?
A prophet came and basically said, "Bad move, now they know exactly what to steal." And that's precisely what happened later. It's like the original case study in why stealth wealth matters.
The comparison that really clicks for me is with fitness influencers who pose with junk food. We all know they're not actually eating those burgers regularly.
Exactly. And wealthy people are the same way with their finances. They're doing the unglamorous work behind the scenes, tracking expenses, maximizing savings, making smart investments. They just don't post about it.
That's so true. The research shows self-made millionaires spend way less on things like suits, about $360 compared to $600 for those who inherited wealth.
And here's what really matters about this whole philosophy. It's not about being cheap or depriving yourself. It's about being intentional with your money and focusing on building actual wealth rather than appearing wealthy. The freedom that comes with that must be incredible. No wonder they don't feel the need to show off.
You know what's really powerful about all this? Anyone can apply these principles. It's not about how much you make. It's about the habits you build and the choices you make with whatever money you have. That's what makes this so fascinating. It's completely flipped the script on what we think wealth looks like.
Looking ahead, I think we're going to see more people embracing these principles, especially as social media's influence on spending habits becomes more apparent. The real question is whether we'll recognize the truly wealthy people walking right past us at Target.
Well, that's assuming we can spot them at all, which is exactly the point of stealth wealth, isn't it?
Exactly right. And maybe that's the biggest takeaway here. True wealth isn't about what you can show off. It's about having the freedom to live life on your own terms. And sometimes that means driving a hail-damaged car all the way to the bank.